All right. What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Welcome to episode 4 of season 2 of the Table Talk podcast under Oz Media. We have another awesome, incredible show ready for you guys today. Before we get into the topic and everything like that, I have to introduce everybody that's in the building today. Starting off with little sis Sada Thabit to the right of me over here, co-host of the show, and another co-host of the show is big sis Abid Thabit. She's right here. And next to Abid, we have one of our guests, is the assistant principal of Melvindale High School, Najwa Ali. She's in the building, ready to share some knowledge. And next to Najwa is her cousin, a great friend of ours, Nasser Nagi, who is a process coach at Ford Motor Company, and he is here to chime in on this conversation. Once he's seen the topic, he was like, I need to jump on this one as well. So we're looking forward to hearing what they have to say. While you are here, I do want to say, be sure to subscribe. Subscribe to our Oz Media's YouTube page. Also, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram under Motivate Me 313. You can listen to this show later. So if you don't want to watch for some reason, even though we got some amazing people on the show, if you want to just listen to it later, it's on Apple and Spotify podcasts under Oz Media. And if you want to call in, if you think that there's something interesting that we're talking about and you want to share your thoughts, the number is 313-306-1750. Again, 313-306-1750. I have the phone right here next to me so we can have a nice conversation even over the phone. So be sure to call in. Be sure to call in. And for those that are wondering, the topic today is about adapting to cultural norms. So we're going to talk about, different things that happen, kind of in the Yemeni Muslim culture, but we're going to try to open it up to every different kind of culture that might be happening here in America and kind of relate it to what it is that we deal with. But before we even get into the topics, we got to give a shout out to our sponsors, all right? Next to me, we got BC Adhesives and the Balkan House Restaurant. And next to Principal Nejwa, we have Hanley International Academy and the Qahwa House. We're all enjoying some nice Qahwa House coffee. But Zach, can you go ahead and run that Qahwa House ad? And we're going to get the show started. The Qahwa House. The Qahwa House is the first coffee shop of its kind. The Qahwa House is a family business established in 2017 for the sole purpose of providing the best quality Yemeni coffee with no added preservatives, artificial additives, or flavors. You can stop by Qahwa House to try their famous Yemeni latte, Adani Shahi, Mafawad, and Jubani coffees. You can also stop by to try their delicious pastries such as the Yemeni favorite sabaya, their sembusas, and their new menu item, Everything Mini Bites. There are currently 4 Qahwa House locations, with 2 of them coming soon as well to make it a total of 6. Their 4 locations is West Dearborn, East Dearborn, Williamsburg, New York, Lombard, Illinois, with 2 new locations coming in Canton, Michigan, and Petersburg, New Jersey. So no matter where you're at in the country, be sure to stop by a Qahwa House and get a glimpse of what the Yemeni culture is all about. So first of all, Najwa, I know you heard Canton, Michigan. I know you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I am.
I know you're looking forward to that for sure.
Yep.
But Nejwa, I know I kind of formally introduced you, but can you now tell the people a little bit about yourself? What is it that you do? And why is it that you're an amazing person, Najwa?
Oh, thank you. First and foremost, I'm a mother of 2 amazing children. My daughter's right here, my greatest fan. And I have a son. I am the assistant principal of Melvindale High School, which is, a really great community. 67% approximately are, ELL. We have a large percentage of Yemeni students. I sit on a couple of boards, and one of them being the Michigan Mental Health School Advisory Board, which is, it's a great board to be on. I think mental health is really important right now. And it's, good, I think, to help use that, with the Yemeni community. In Melvindale, I am the president of a nonprofit organization. So let's plug our org.
For sure.
It's called Promise Relief Organization, and it helps, alleviate the hardship. We initially started, just in Yemen, but we have absolutely no reservations on who it is that we serve, and who it is that we help. I have an advanced degree in education. I have a master's in bicultural education, and then I have my ed specialist certification in administrative policies and studies.
Mashallah, she said that like it's just all smooth and normal. Mashallah, very nice, very nice. And we got Nasser here next to us as well. Nasser, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, it's hard to follow that class act right there.
Hi, I'm Nasser.
I'm Nasser Nagi. A little bit about myself. Like you said, I work at Ford Motor Company. I'm a process coach there. On the side, I'm a silent investor. What that means is I'm not in charge of day-to-day operations and the things that I invest in. Various businesses. I'm a crypto enthusiast. And I'm into stock market as long as it's in line with my Islamic beliefs. I'm half Yemeni. I'm born from an African American mother and a Arab American father who's first generation. I'm second generation Yemeni, and many generations forward or back African American. I lived. My Islamic foundation was formed in my childhood in Yemen, so I lived in Yemen, which I believe probably was the most important part of my life from the age of 3 to the age of 10, and it played a vital role in my developmental stages, and came back to the States, and here I am.
That's awesome, and I'm happy that you're here because your perspective is going to be great with this conversation as well. So I think that all is going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. So we could jump right in. Like I was mentioning, this conversation is about adapting to cultural norms. We're going to talk about supporting our women in sports. For those that may not know, in our culture, we are still, I could use the word maybe battling and are trying our best. I'm athletic director of the school that I'm at. You work at a school, she works at a school as well. So, one of the things that we try to do is trying to get more ladies to play sports, that are Muslim, more so Yemeni, that wear the hijab and, follow the religion. And so that's one thing that we're going to discuss today and just talk about a lot of other things, not just that. So, Nedra, I'm going to let you start off with this. Why do you feel it's important for people, coming from different countries that come to America, why do you feel it's important to adapt to the new cultural norms?
So I really think it's important to adapt to the cultural norms because it just gives you more opportunity, I think, to expand on the knowledge that we have, right? And be a little bit more successful and give you a better understanding of the playing field that we're on, right? As Yemeni Americans, without losing who we are, okay? So that's probably like the most important thing. I think that it would also allow us to understand the things that are different than us, right? I know a lot of time I talk about the concentric circle. I do this all the time whenever we talk about, having that lack of adjustment to the cultural norms, right? And the concentric circle is basically the farther that you move from that which you know, right, as being familiar to you, the more you begin to perceive those items as different. And a lot of times that difference becomes synonymous with, wrong or bad, right? And I think that, within the Yemeni community, that's what it is. Things they don't know, like the older generation, they get their pass, right? Because they just don't know any better. They don't know any different. So I think that it's important for that, again, just to learn more, right? Expand your mind, learn more about things that are different than you so you could be more well-rounded.
Yeah.
So,
Nasa, what are your thoughts on that? Like, why do you feel it's important to adapt to the cultural norms?
Well, it's really a weird question. Would we say cultural norms? I really feel that doesn't matter what cultural background you're from. We as Muslims, Muslim American or Muslim from any type of background, Islam, in my opinion, and from my understanding, it welcomes all different types of cultures as long as we put it through an Islamic filtering system. And if the culture itself is it's in harmony with Islam, or it doesn't go against our Islamic identity, then it's then we have something to we have Islamic guidelines to kind of make us more accepting of it. But if it's in conflict with Islam, then we must throw it away, especially if it's if it's obvious and it's really obvious that it's in conflict with our Islamic identity, we shouldn't even question it. Our Islamic identity comes first. That's kind of where I stand as far as culture and the norms. Cultural norms. See, like I'm half Yemeni, but I grew up in a Yemeni household with the Yemeni culture, and there's some of our culture that's not really in harmony with Islam, but we grew up like thinking like some of the ayub are haram. we conflated the two. Um, but in my opinion, I feel like we should hold on to our old culture, because that's kind of what gives us the flavor. It's okay to mix it with the new culture, but as far as like struggling to try to fit in, I only have to say is just, be true to yourself. Uh, try to keep your Islamic identity alive and your culture that you grew up with alive. You don't want to completely lose that.
Definitely, I think there is definitely a balance, right? I think there's like you don't want to just become too much of one thing and not the other. But I think it's important to also adapt to your environment, no
Yeah.
matter what the environment is. But go ahead, Abid. I know you got some notes over there. She got a whole iPad today. She got a whole iPad today. You want to bring the mic a little bit lower? Make sure we're talking in the mic too. Like push it down. Yep, there we go. Yeah, that thing actually goes down.
It's fine.
Okay.
I just want to make sure, like, the people that are watching, we're not sitting here trying to push the American culture on everybody.
Right.
We obviously want to stay true to our Yemeni roots and any of our cultural roots. So I do want to first start off with the definition of culture, and that is the language, beliefs, values, customs, and roles that make up the life in a society. I do want to also mention that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was actually originally from Mecca, and when Allah commanded him to go to Medina, he loved the people of Medina. He started to follow all their norms and would almost say that he is from Medina, but obviously he's from Mecca. And so basically what I'm trying to say is when you're moving into a new country, you should integrate some of the norms of the country to live and to fulfill all of your goals and all of your dreams and use the sources and resources that you have in that culture. A lot of our values are what shape our norms. So obviously there's norms in our Yemeni culture that like we value being generous, right?
Right.
So our norm is when someone comes to our house and they say, no, they're not hungry, we'll force them to eat because that's just something that we do. It's not totally in the American culture. So obviously there's things that we do that we want to keep and push. And then there's things that, obviously we don't have to follow that are in the American norms. But when it comes to school, when it comes to being physical, when it comes to pushing yourself, thinking about the future. A lot of the Yemeni norms are like, live by day, kind of laid back, but, the American dream, working, hustling, working hard, trying to better yourself. Those are norms that we would like to keep or want to integrate into our lives. So I know we talked before about the difference between assimilation and integration. We don't want to assimilate. We don't want to forget everything and just live the American lifestyle. I obviously want to keep and also have the Islamic morals and commandments aligned. But at the same time, we don't want to separate ourselves from the American culture, like to the point where you're like, no, we're not from them. We don't want to do anything like them. I know we have a lot of families in our schools that don't want to have anything to do with anything that's American. And but we do live here, and there's things that we do here that are a lot different, and they're actually for betterment. And when it comes to norms, they change with education, with years. There's things that people did a long time ago that we don't do right now.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, we don't want to get marginalized to the point where we're separated from society.
Definitely.
So.
For sure. Sada, what are your thoughts on the topic?
I was just going to say, you're not going to have me answer this question last after all of that, because every point I wanted to mention, she ended up mentioning. No, but what I was going to mention too is that it's important so we don't feel segregated. So we are all together and we all are one community.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I bet. So you kind of talked about it. Some of our families at Hanley, for example, or at our school, they try their best to like make sure that their kids almost don't get any kind of new cultural norm, stick to the script. Why do you feel, especially like Arab Yemeni people, why do we feel like, our, parents or families want us to just stick with the same cultural norm that we've been used to or they've been used to growing up? Why do you feel like that's the situation?
I feel like it goes back to what Nasser was saying, how a lot of aib, they turn it to haram instead of it being the difference. And a lot of times parents are scared, which I think actually plays both roles. I think our teachers and admin in school need to learn about the cultural norms of our culture, of the Yemeni, the Arab, African American, the Bengali, like their students' culture. We have to understand their norms, but at the same time, our people need to understand the American norms as well. Because you have parents that don't like to wait in line. They don't like those are things like that we need to cut, and we need to understand be patient. Like,
Right.
there's like things that are embarrassing. I'm
Right.
I'm gonna sit here and say
Right.
I've had a parent like snap to get my attention. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
that is not what you do. You know what I'm saying? We do not do this
Yeah.
here.
Oh, you know
what I'm
what?
saying?
You know what? I beat it. Watch out, hey.
No, you know what I'm.
I
there's-
completely understand what you say. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I've had women come into the office and flag me down and yelling. And to me, because and again, in the back of my mind, I just think, okay, well, they just don't know anything.
Yeah,
right?
you understand.
They really
it.
don't,
Yeah.
and it's a part of their lack of interaction with people that are different than them,
Right.
right? And they just don't interact, with others. But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say when somebody snaps in Ibe's face, she turns from Miss Dabbit to Queen Bee. All right.
Don't we all?
Watch out.
No, the
but-
thing, but see, what I was saying earlier, how you understand.
Yeah.
But in other situations, I remember when I was getting my job, when I was trying to get a job at Hanley, there was another guy with me. He was a Muslim. I don't know what he was, but he was Muslim. But they didn't give him the job. Like, my interview went so quick. Alhamdulillah. Like, they just gave me the job basically. But because he wouldn't shake their hand, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, obviously it's a religion thing, but it's also it's a norm in our
Right.
But they didn't
In the
realize
American
it at the
culture.
time. Yeah, they
So-
thought it was really rude, and
So let's talk about that, okay? Because that happens oftentimes too. I have to have meetings with people and stuff like that. But I think it's also a part of our responsibility sometimes. So we want to adjust, right? And we want to adapt to some of the cultural norms, right? If it isn't going to compromise our religious, right, and our moral beliefs, right, or our ethics in the way that we want to live our life, then it shouldn't be a problem. Until it does, then it isn't a problem. So in that kind of a case, right, I remember before, I didn't used to shake hands, and I would just be like, and then I trained everybody, and then all of a sudden it became a thing. It was even more, I think, appropriate, right? Because then when COVID hit, no one shook hands, and we were thinking to ourselves, why wasn't this the greeting all along? Is just peace be on you, right? Be upon you, just by doing this, right? And so kind of I came into Melvindale, and that was the thing, where I would do this, and now they've adjusted.
Right.
So, and to me, it's their lack of knowledge.
100%.
So the people that thought that it was rude that he didn't shake their hands, if someone was there to explain that to them, I think it has to be a give and take of both cultures, right? Understand that I'm not being disrespectful by not shaking your hand. So don't think that way, and just understand us. So then, and then I think with that comes along a better, I don't know, just a better, gaining that knowledge about who we are too,
100%.
What are your thoughts on all this right now, Nasser?
I agree. She actually nailed it.
Yeah.
We fall into this all the time, right?
Yeah.
Especially I know me being a man. If a woman takes her hand out, is usually rarely ever happens. They usually wait for the guy to pull their hands out. But if a woman does it, we sort of oh, she already did it, right? And we're, you kind of reluctant, but you don't want to make her feel uncomfortable. Well, what's wrong with him,
Yeah.
right? But we, going back to the Islamic point, you have to be true to Islam, right? She brought up the COVID thing. We shouldn't wait for a COVID to be oh, we were right? Or now everybody is whatever. We always wait for an approval from the outside world when we should hold the diamond out and be proud of it, right? Regardless of how you may feel or how, we could, of course, we could try to explain ourselves, or there's ways to go about it, right? Touching your chest, right? That's kind of polite. But if you're just kind of whoa, and you move back, that's kind of rude, right? So there's ways. There's an Islamic adab to it too. So yeah.
So, okay, go ahead, Sarah.
I was gonna mention something. So, giving the examples of the Islamic adab and stuff like that, and especially in school situations. And I've told you guys this before. When I feel there's sometimes too extreme, even the students, in a sense of even celebrating a holiday that they don't celebrate.
Yeah.
That's when I think on this side we're absolutely wrong. especially if they're going to a public school or anything like that. Like sometimes the students are extreme, or sometimes their opinion is way too extreme, where they're ruining for everyone. You get what I'm saying? So I feel like that it should be a cultural norm in a sense of, like, if they know that if the parents are bothered by that stuff, then they need to take them to somewhere that you could, like a more private school or anything like that, that won't have those things that they don't agree on or they don't celebrate on.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, it's. I'm sorry. Who wants to go?
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I wanted to add to that, or kind of chime in. I feel like as long as I'm not imposing my tashdid on you or anybody, right? I feel like if I'm really conservative, I'm super conservative, but I'm keeping it to myself, I don't think that, I mean, I don't know what, like, I want you to elaborate more. Like, I don't think, like, we should go to the extreme of, like, like, I should isolate myself because I'm a little machedded, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like you should be true to yourself. If you feel like you are super conservative and that's how you're going about trying to protect yourself from getting into haram or trying to stay out of, things that are inappropriate. As long as I'm not forcing that on you and I'm over your head, oh, haram, I'm being haram police over you. Yeah. I feel like that's okay, right? Because I don't celebrate Halloween, right? I do have, like, my mom's side of the family are Christians. I also have in-laws that are Catholics, right? And I break bread with them during Christmas. I don't necessarily celebrate Christmas, but I break bread with them, right? But I'm strictly against Halloween, right? And that's because of the history of Halloween and what it represents. And I don't allow, like, I have a 6-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. My 6-year-old son is in elementary school, and last year he had a Halloween party. He still went. I don't let him dress up or whatever, right? I know, like, some people who are listening are probably like, oh, he should have never went, right? You're more mature than me. However, if you see me that I'm not on your level, there is a way to approach, right? You shouldn't shun. I shouldn't shun him for approaching me, because he may be right. Maybe my son shouldn't have went, right? But however, I did my best to accommodate my religion, right?
Yeah.
And but that's like I wanted you to elaborate more, about going to different school or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they've
Sarah's trying to send them out.
No. The thing is that I hate, like, I've heard certain stories, especially like in the schools in Hamtramck, where sometimes we, especially us Yemeni, we feel like we have the upper hand because we're getting more of them and they're seeing more of them as well as teachers and stuff like that, where they're forgetting that we do also live in America and there's culture norms that they have to adapt to. You get what I'm saying? In a sense of, I love how you what you did with your child. You let him go, even though you don't celebrate it whatsoever, but obviously you let him go. He didn't get dressed up. That's kind of advice that probably a parent that's listening that is in a contradicting in that sense, where, you're not disrespecting, you're letting your child still have fun and be around his classmates and stuff like that. But at the same time, you're also teaching him, like, okay, we don't celebrate this. You know what I mean? It's just another day in school, kind of in a sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't like how in more like in areas that are getting out of field, especially Yemeni field, where they do feel like they have the upper hand.
Yeah, and what Sarah's trying to say, like, for example, parents want to eliminate it completely.
And I think that's so rude.
And that's what she's saying, like we can't do that. Even though majority of our schools, like 75% Yemeni now, what she's trying to say is we can't eliminate Halloween. Like, we're not gonna just take it away.
So let me just tell you, like, a little bit of a twist, that we've kind of done on that, okay, in multiple. So I've worked so far in 2 districts, and then I worked in Hamtramck at Bridge Academy for a long time, like 17 years ago.
What?
Yeah, long time ago.
When I was there, probably.
Maybe it was like 17 years ago. You probably were you a student there?
Yeah, I was fresh when they opened.
I was there when Khalid Abdullah was there.
Yeah.
In Fatima Fadak.
Yeah, she was my 3rd grade teacher.
So
funny.
So, having said that, What they've done now, right, is make accommodations, which are fine. So we're not going to call it Halloween. We're going to call it a fall fest. And we're not going to call it a Christmas party. We're going to call it a winter fest. And we're not going to call it Valentine's. We're going to call it a friendship, you know. And to me, you know, that is okay, okay? If my beliefs, because I don't believe in Halloween either, like I never celebrated it, you know, with none of my, both of my children, we never celebrated Halloween. I just believe that if the decisions that you are making and the opinions that you have on that, you know, as long as you're not compromising everyone else's fun, like the rest of the classroom's fun, then go ahead and be that. Because I want people to understand that they have the ability, right, to make their own decisions and not feel apologetic about it, right? So if, like Malik went to school, my son, and he never wanted to wear a costume. Like every year they were having their Halloween parties, you know, and every grade that he was in. And he had costumes in the house to wear, right? Like the superhero costumes and stuff like that. I never took him trick-or-treating, but, you know, tell him, you know, do you want to wear a costume so you can feel, you know, comfortable with everyone else? He said, no, I don't care. Like he just, and I instilled that very young in them, you know, what you know, you can have your own decision. You make up your own mind with whatever it is that you're comfortable with, right? It doesn't have to be what everyone else is doing. You do you, and you do what's best for you. So I think that as long as you're not compromising anyone else's fun, right, or their ability to like continue on with whatever it is they want to participate in, I don't have a problem with that, you know? But we just need to be able to get that message out to those families, right? Who are, you know, who have those conversations and, you know, and come in and they're irate about it. You're teaching my kids about this, this, and that. No, we're really not. We're just having candy. Like, you know, everyone just wants to have candy and have a good time and find a reason to celebrate one another, right? And as long as we can eliminate that piece out of it where it isn't so much the Halloween thing anymore, but just a moment of celebration among friends, then, you know, then it shouldn't be a problem, you know?
So, you know, I teach first grade. So I have kids that believe in the tooth fairy and kids that believe in Santa and kids. And it's, you have Yemeni kids that that's haram. That's, you know, he's not real or whatever, you know?
Right.
But it's my job to make sure that they understand that everybody has their own beliefs and that it's, if she celebrates it, that's okay. And if you don't, that's okay. And at the end of the day, we're a melting pot, you know? We're an international school. It's Hanley International Academy. So we have to respect each other's holidays, cultures, beliefs, whatever. Right. But, you know, we do call them the fall fest and the winter and all that good stuff too. So.
That's my son, by the way. He ruins his Santa Claus for everybody.
Yeah, I know. I had a kind of mishap. One of my students lost her tooth, and I was like, you know, save it for the tooth fairy.
Oh, you're the one that mentioned it?
Hey, I said that.
We don't believe in the tooth. I'm like, yeah, you're right, 100%. Here, take it home.
Yeah. Give it to your mom.
No, for sure. Two things. First of all, Nasser, I just want to tell you from the camera angle, the fade is looking clean. All right. All right. Second of all, I want to play this game with y'all. Okay. Just to mess with y'all. It's gonna put you on the spot. I'm gonna say something. Tell me if you're for it or against it.
Okay.
Okay. Let's start off with Halloween. You already shared your opinions. Abir.
No, I'm against it.
Sada.
Believe it or not, though, a couple years ago, I still was dressing up at school. It was, listen, we were French fries and hamburger.
Yeah, we were.
Like, it was.
So are you guys not?
The last year I did it, and the year before I did it. Okay. So, you know, you learn.
Sada.
We work together, by the way. If I get you know that.
Like, by the way, I'm speaking like when I say for. By the way, we're speaking about our kids. So
Right.
our own
okay.
kids. Yes, yes.
Then against it. I won't take
Okay. Standing up for the American flag.
For it.
for it.
Standing up.
Standing up, you know, Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Okay, now you add in other things.
I'm sorry, for the national anthem.
Okay,
For the national
I'll
anthem.
stand up out of respect. Pledge allegiance to me that I'm pledging and I'm swearing that I am swearing allegiance to the country. So I feel like every word has consequences to it, and that's like signing a contract. And to be true to Islam, you have to uphold that pledge if you pledge. So I am for standing up for the flag out of respect. Although I'm an American citizen, there's not a country on earth that follows the true Shari'i Islam. So, you know, I guess I'm in this world as a guest, right? And I'm here to respect the laws of the land, and especially in America, I'm here to respect the laws of the land and be a guest here and not put harm to people and I respect their laws, but I do not pledge allegiance.
I will stand up for it, and even now, because our school just recently brought back the Pledge of Allegiance. I can talk. My kids, I don't force them to say it. They can stand. I don't tell them to hold their hand to their heart. We just stand, and then we sit down. So.
That's what I do too. I tell them to stand. You don't have to say it. I mean, it's up to you. I never really had that discussion to be talking about saying it or not because I don't want to get into that. I just tell them at least stand respectfully because I think that's at least the respectful.
I have to ask, why did you ask that question?
Because of that reason. Because I know that there's in our school they brought it back, so I figured that this, But I got a couple more. Birthdays.
I'm for them.
Yeah.
For them too.
Birthdays.
I'm like in the middle.
Okay.
Because I do go to birthday parties. I don't celebrate my birthday, and I tell people not to buy me anything on my birthday. I don't care for my birthday. I did celebrate my son's first and third birthday, and I celebrated my daughter's first and third birthday.
Okay.
And
So
that was more
what
so.
happened on the second birthday?
That was more so to make my wife happy, I guess. I don't know. Like, you have to compromise, I guess. I don't know. But I mean, I don't care for celebrating birthdays, and I just don't care. Like, it's not that it's, like, I'm not a scholar to say it's halal or haram, to go to your local scholar. Don't listen to
Allah ya'lam. After everything, Allah ya'lam.
I just don't care for it. Like, what are we celebrating? Getting old? Like,
Yeah.
No,
don't
I
care.
feel like when it comes to birthdays, I'm not gonna lie, I was huge on it when I was younger.
She started a business pick a date to celebrate birthdays.
I love it.
I was huge on it, but now we go on vacations. We don't really do parties, but we do something for it. Like we just
Yeah.
want to end the year in a happy note or whatever. So
Yeah.
we go on vacation.
That's what we do. It's hard when I tell my son, "What do you want? What do you want to do for your birthday?" I want to go to Myrtle Beach. I'm like, okay, yeah.
It's better.
But to me, it's just it's just a time for hey, just recognizing the day itself. It isn't like, both of my kids are really not interested in celebrating birthdays. They just want the gifts. They don't care about anything else. They don't want to party. They don't want to.
We want gifts all year round.
Yeah,
you know.
that's true. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is a good time to pause before we move on because in the second segment now we're going to talk about with sports and trying to talk about women in sports and more so Muslim women in sports. But we were mentioning Hanley International Academy, Zach. So if you want to get the Hanley International Academy ad, they are also a gold sponsor of ours. By the way, BC the Heaps, Balkan House, Qahwa House, and Hanley, they are all gold sponsors. So shout out to Hanley. Hanley International Academy. Hanley is a school that treats every student and staff like their own family. It's even in their vision statement, educating your child like our own. Did you also know that Hanley offers a virtual academy? So if you're looking for your kid to sign up for an online school, look no further than Hanley's Virtual Academy. But if you're looking for face-to-face, Hanley International Academy is located on 2400 Denton Street, Hamtramck, Michigan. The athletics there are great. The academics there are great. Shout out to the whole staff for being great teachers and educators for our leaders of tomorrow. So sometimes we have parents, not just with sports, maybe even with extracurricular activities, they don't feel comfortable because it's after school. Again, this is another cultural thing, right? You go to school, you go home.
Yep.
So why? My question is why. First of all, if you do feel like it, do you feel like, kids, students taking part in extracurricular activities, maybe more so sports? Like, why do you feel it's important for them to do those kind of things? I'm gonna start off with you, Najwa.
You know what? I think it provides structure for them. I think it teaches them how to be one part of this greater sum, right? Which transfers out then into the real world, helps them have their collaboration skills, problem-solving skills, again, some discipline, some structure. It's important. I mean, in that sense. And then that goes for extracurricular and then for sports. And then sports alone too, I just feel like, activating your body will activate your mind continuously,
For sure.
yeah,
They coincide with one another. Sada, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, a simple answer, to also be healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally, something to do. A lot of the girls and guys, they'll go home, boys will play video games and the girls they won't even know what to do. You know what I mean? I remember even when I was younger, there was no team for us to even start because no one was allowed to stay after school. not even for like homework help. You know, it was usually the ones that are not Yemeni people. You know, after school. But no, I think that was very like a very disadvantage for us. I think that's what also made me lazy totally.
Yeah.
I wish I was a little bit more active, you know. But thankfully, I had somebody like Amar forcing me to go play basketball when I was younger. So, yeah,
Force is a strong word.
I ended up enjoying it.
Motivating
Yeah,
you to play
Yeah.
Encouraging you.
basketball. Yeah.
I needed somebody. These guys weren't born yet. You know, Zach
Yeah.
and Yusuf weren't born yet. Abid, you know, why do you feel it's important, you know, for parents to motivate their kids to be joining extracurricular activities like sports as well?
First of all, sometimes your kids don't even know what they're good at until they try it. Extracurricular activities are very important and vital with growing the brain, growing the mind, growing the body, you know, with sports. My son, I push him to play every single sport. He plays soccer, baseball, basketball, and football. He loves all of it, but there's so much more that comes with it as well. Like you said, the teamwork, just even knowing how to take a loss,
Right.
you know, knowing that hard work actually pays off, all that good stuff. So it's very important.
Nasser, do you want to chime in on that, or do you have any thoughts on
Yeah, I do actually. I do think sports are important. Being healthy, health is one of the most important things. A strong body, by extension, is a strong mind. And I grew up playing every sport. In Yemen, I played soccer, and growing up, I played football, basketball, I ran track, I kickboxed, I was in martial arts. I was a boxer after high school. So I feel, and I was a boxer. Actually, I wanted to box, and then I quickly realized why it was haram getting punched in the face and punching people in the face because I was a walking headache for 3 years, and it was miserable. So like, if you choose the right sports, I feel like it's really important, and it's good for character building, discipline, like she said, learning how to lose, because I think you have to learn how to lose. And there's no, I can't really think of anything that's better than sports that teaches you how to lose, you know, and that's pretty much. That's it.
I can't stress it enough how I think that, I mean, obviously the health part to me is very important. Being healthy, learning a healthy lifestyle, you know, at a young age, learning how to keep yourself active, that's very important. But to me, learning how to lose, man, especially nowadays, this generation.
Yeah.
I have students in my gym class who lose a dodgeball or might lose a game. Like today, we were doing agilities and speed tests, fitness testing. Then at the end, I was racing 2 teams, and a team loses, and they're just sore losers, you know, and then like get mad. And it even goes down to kindergarten. Like somebody gets tagged in the game, and they're out. You know, they snap or start crying.
Sore losers.
Sore losers, yeah, you know, and I don't want to call them that. They're students, but
I was a sore loser for a long time too.
but you,
I mean, no one
you
likes-
learn. You know, you learn and you learn, and every time you lose, it teaches you. Every time you lose, it teaches you how to, you know, accept it and move on. And to be honest with you, you know, so many things come with losing. You know, number one, you could prepare better next time, right? You know, depending on if you're like a real team, you could prepare for it next time. It humbles you when you do win. You know how to act even when you win. Right. Losing teaches you how to act. And so there's a lot of great things that come with it. So, you know, when you talk about why do I feel like sports is important, it's very important. And, you know, leading on to the next question is, you know, one of the things that we don't see is enough of is Muslim women, specifically Yemeni women. And it's getting better, by the way. I do want to say it's getting better. I feel like there's a lot more. Like, we're in a league where there's like a lot of majority Muslim schools. And, you know, we see a lot of Muslim girls playing volleyball, basketball. Like, we just played Central. I'm sure probably half or 75% of their team is Muslim, you know, GE school, Central.
Yep.
So, you know, it's getting better, but it's still not there yet, especially like in Hamtramck. I feel like we're struggling. Like at Hanley, alhamdulillah, like if you see the girls team now, I think more than half are Muslim girls now. Like I've tried my best to not just talk about it, be about it, have those conversations with the parents and stuff. But, you know, we are still lacking in that. You know, we're lacking in the department of having girls be involved in sports. And I want to first off say this, and I know you have something similar. We're kind of talking about this. You know, my mind says when we try to get these girls to play sports, it's first and foremost listen to your parents.
Yeah.
You know, you have to respect your parents' word. And I say that to them. It's our job as the ADs, as the coaches, as the leaders in the building to try to get the parents to buy in to what it is that you're trying to get them to play, you know? So I have those conversations with the mom or the dad or whoever it may be, bigger brother, older sibling. And then they probably go home and talk about it, and then, you know, they make the final decision at the end of the day. But, you know, I really do believe there's so many benefits to it, and our students are missing out on it because, you know, of a cultural norm.
Right.
You know, so I guess what are your thoughts on that topic, Najwa?
So it is. I think that the parents themselves, you know, have been so consumed for so many years with what the opinion of others. So even some of the parents, you know, will resist allowing their daughters, you know, to play sports, even if they are for it, right? Even if they want their daughters to get that opportunity to play, you know, sports, that they're just so worried about what other people are going to say, right? You know, I mean, I'm not going to deny it. We're judgmental by nature a lot of times, you know, not myself, but but you know, but other people, right? You know, automatically they judge what they know not, right? And so I think to me that's like one of the things is that we're just so consumed with what the opinion of other people is going to be that we forget what's good for our own kids, right? You know, my daughter last night we were having this conversation and she said, you know, Mom, you know, a lot of time though the girls don't want to be looked at. You know, they don't want to be looked at while they're, you know, spiking a ball in volleyball or running across the, across the you know, the basketball court, right? And so, I think, you know, I think that that's what it is. Is a lot of parents are like, you know, oh, I don't want my daughter to be viewed, you know, as someone who plays sports in front of people, and it goes back to like what I heard my whole entire life. You know, like, what are people going to say? You know, what are people going to say if you do this? And what are people going to say if you do that? You know, but at the end of the day, what people are going to say in their opinions that they have in the form of others really shouldn't define who we are or what we want for our own children.
For sure. What are you about to say?
Because that at the end of the day, that ends up hindering you.
Yeah.
You know, and
Absolutely.
your potential.
Yeah.
I feel like if the girl is dressed appropriately, you know, and if she really has a passion to play,
Yep.
like she's really good at it, why not? Because I'm going to bring it back to the Prophet because, you know, I'm trying to make sure that we,
Absolutely.
you know, dot our I's and cross our T's. He said, teach your children swimming, archery, and horse riding. He didn't say teach your boys.
Yep.
Teach your children.
Children. Yep.
So at the end of the day, you know, who are you to tell our kids that they can't do something that the Prophet kind of wanted?
No, and thinking about it, it's actually ironic because, like, usually parents don't care when it's gym class.
Which is weird, right? Yeah.
I just literally clicked in my brain right now because, like, gym class, it's still mixed.
I think it's the
But do
people
they
watching.
even know? Yeah. Sometimes I think, like, do they even know that their kids have gym class?
Well, because
That
I
too.
remember that's funny. No, but I also do remember when we were at Bridge, they got a divider. We were divided half of the time, in certain times, or like I think the 8th graders were only divided, where it was like the girls were on one side, the guys were on one side. But other than that, I mean, every other school and stuff like that, they're all together.
So I have a question. Maybe I'm just a little bit out of the loop or whatever, but when I graduated from Fortson, and when we were at Fortson, we had an all-girls gym. Do they not do that anymore? Because I know the school that I'm at, we don't do that in high school.
Zach goes to Fortson right now.
Oh, tell us. Yeah. Do they still have that?
He's not even paying attention.
He's on.
Like an all-girls gym class? Oh, okay.
This is his first year there.
Yeah. Okay. So I had just graduated. Yeah, she graduated in 2020 from Fortson, and so I wasn't sure about that because to me, then that would help them develop that greater love for sports, right?
Yeah.
And then they get that there, and I feel like, you know, I know there are some girls, you know, like I know Aya was on the swim team when she was in middle school, you know, and obviously she wore the Islamic swimsuit, and you know, I always want, you know, my kids to know that we're never going to allow like our religion to prevent us from doing something that won't compromise our religious beliefs, right? So she was like the best diver on the, I can't swim, but she was the best diver, you know, on the swim team, right?
You're gonna have to teach me some little tricks.
Yeah, some of her tricks, yeah.
What are your thoughts on this, Nasser?
Well, I want to take some of the heat off the parents.
Yeah.
You were starting to touch on it a little bit.
Okay.
Because I feel like a lot of times it's really not the parents, it's the women that feel uncomfortable. Even in Western culture, right?
Right.
There are women. That's why they have gyms like Curbs, right? I don't know if they're still around.
Yeah.
But like Curbs is made strictly just for women. I remember one time I just walked in the curves because I was dropping off somebody that I know, dropping a bag over there, and all the women turned around, and I'm like, oh, I was so uncomfortable because they're like, what the hell are you doing in here, right? They gave me that look, but that's because there's certain women that don't feel comfortable working out. They want to feel comfortable in their skin. They want to be around women. They don't want men looking at them, and there's a lot of women that feel uncomfortable competing with men or competing in front of men, you know, and unfortunately, a lot of we might think that, you know, we're wearing, you know, we're covering up, but sometimes women, depending on how conservative she is, right? What are we doing to accommodate them? That's my question, right? And especially in an Islamic community, in a Muslim community where there's a school in a Muslim community, are we doing everything in our power to accommodate the women that want to play these sports, right? Now there's certain sports like fencing and other sports that are like solo sports where they could actually practice alone, but like these team sports where, you know, they need to sell tickets to keep up with the team, right? Yeah. Are we figuring out like how to accommodate that way? Because it's not always the parents. And as far as the parents, I would encourage anybody listening to this, especially if you're in high school between the age of 15 and 18, you don't know anything, right? You haven't lived life, right? So even if your parents may be illiterate, they have wisdom. They have wisdom of living. So whatever opinion they may have, they probably know best, more than like generally speaking. And they, you know, I'm just move from the kids, and I'm as a parent, right? I'm teaching my kids how to box. I'm teaching my daughter, she's 3 years old, and she packs a punch, right? And I'm just like, oh man, right? But even if it was a boy, technically I was a boxer, right? And I'm here to say that, you know, you're not Islam doesn't allow you getting punched in the face or punching anybody in the face, right? But I'm gonna train them how to box. But however, like, what if my daughter is like super talented? Do I do that? You have to be true to Islam, right? Just because you may be good at something doesn't necessarily mean that's right for you, right? You could do it in a way where you're staying true to your Islamic beliefs, right? And and I encourage all the children is don't argue with your parents. Don't go start a fight and dialogue with them. Try to get to understand where they're coming from. I know that sometimes we may feel like, you know, our parents are saying, oh, you know, you're not allowed to do this because I said so, right? And for the parents, you know, try to articulate why you don't want your kid playing in said sport. This goes for boys and girls, right? And a lot of times as a parent, now that I'm a parent and I have a daughter, parents do go in protective mode, you know? So we have to understand that. Like, it was easy for me to say, oh, you know, Allah gave you a brain. He gave you the freedom to choose, right? But I'm in charge of my flock, right? You're in my house and I'm in charge of you. I don't want anybody looking at my daughter, right? Yeah. I don't want, you know what I'm saying? Even if she's really passionate about it, I don't know how I feel about it, right? Yeah. She's only 3 years old. I might change, I don't know. I might be lenient depending on how she look at me, right? But yeah. But I just feel like try to dialogue with your parents respectfully. It's really important that and see where they're coming from, because more times than not that they really are being protective, and the whole. I think you touched on it when you said, you know, people worry about what people say. It's easy for us as individuals to say, I don't care what anybody says. Yes, it's me, right? But as a parent, you turn into mama bear when anybody has an opinion about your daughter or your son, right? Even if, like, she's my cousin, we all joke, right? And she'll pounce on me if I'm just like picking on like her son or whatever, right? They're turning into mama bear. So we have to look at it from a parent's perspective. It's not so much that they're trying to jill their kids or whatever. Sometimes it's just coming out of like, yeah, it does hurt. It may be easy. You may be able to take somebody talking crap about you, but it's a whole different story when somebody says anything negative about your children.
Great points.
Yeah, I love that.
Sometimes you just want to avoid the whole thing.
Yeah, you want to avoid the whole thing. Like, just so it knows.
Yeah.
Especially when we live in a Muslim community, right?
For sure.
Especially amongst the Yemeni community, where it's the beautiful thing about us is that we stay close, and we want to stay close because sometimes we feel like we all we got, right? And you don't want to be that one bad apple who like, I don't care what anybody says, blah blah blah, this and that, and then you're taking the heat and everybody talking crap about your daughter when it's especially when there's women involved. It takes a whole.
Yeah.
But you know,
know?
sometimes it takes that one person to open that door for the rest. So
Yeah.
you got to stick to your beliefs. Like if you, like for instance, when I have a child and I really wanted them to do something and everyone else was opposed to it, and then if I could have opened the door for a couple other kids.
Do you have any
So-
kids?
No, I don't.
She said when
Come
she
back
does.
to me
I
when you
said
have.
when.
Yeah. For sure. No.
I think that I got really lucky having a boy
Yeah.
because it is different when it comes to girls. But I can say this: I grew up with 3 brothers and 3 uncles, and they kept me in a shell for years. I couldn't go to the high school that they went to because there's too many fights. I was homeschooled for a year, and then went to a charter school, which I didn't want to go to. I couldn't go to college because it wasn't the thing at the time, and it took a lot to have to maneuver my way back into the school system. Well, that's all I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? So worrying about what people say can hinder you. You know what I'm saying? But
Yep.
at the same time, I get it. I get the protection. I get, wanting to make sure that nobody talks about your sister, but at the same time, it's like there's a.
No, but also too is going back to what I was saying. But then eventually, when you got to go and how it got normal is because people were being that rotten apple and slowly allowing their girls to go to college and stuff like that, which opened the door to now it's more likely that a girl to go to college than not.
So so we need to begin to normalize that, right?
Yeah.
Normalize that, it's critically important to go to college. It's critically important to go to school. I've told the story multiple times. I have to argue with parents sometimes, and I even did at the elementary level, if their daughters weren't doing well, they would, come in and say, well, she doesn't need to go to school anyways. I said, well, why not? Well, it's not important for her to go to school. But it is, and then I don't want to talk about a cultural standpoint. So I hit them with a religious point, right? And I tell them, if the very first word that was brought down, through the angel, Gabriel is Iqra, right? There were no specifications on the gender. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has seen us as equals. So why can't humanity see that, right? It wasn't Iqra, oh you men, right? It was Iqra for everyone equally, men and women. There was no gender specific there, and that's just something that we need to normalize. We need to make people understand that, we are equal in many things, right? And again, I'm all girl power, you know what I mean? I'm about the girl power and empowering girls to do, greatness and finding the greatness that's within them, right? But within the same token, like Nasser had mentioned, like there's that part, right? Where you're just like, oh, but it's a little bit different when it's my daughter, and that's okay for certain things, right? Because, yes, we were created equal, but I, as a female, have strengths that a male does not have. And a male, as a man, has strengths, right? That I cannot do. But when it comes to education, it's for everyone,
There was girls, even in the middle school level, they'd be like, oh, I don't care what school, I'm not gonna go to college.
Yeah.
Like they already have it in their mind, so they're not even trying anymore.
Yep.
And it's a huge thing for me because I wasn't technically allowed to go to college until I got married.
Yep.
And which caused, so much more, struggle and pain and all that other stuff just to get to where I'm at. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
So push your daughters to learn more and to be better.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Society. Look at Yemen. Because of the cultural norms, look at Yemen, how Yemen is right now.
Yeah.
I feel like if we were a little bit more
Open
behind our daughters, and just as much as we're behind our sons,
Yeah.
for the right reasons,
Yep.
we would be in a better place.
Absolutely.
Just sticking to the sports. I'm gonna put you on a point. Put you on the spot again.
Last part.
Yeah, no, because my last question about the sports.
Okay.
All right. So let's say because you're an assistant principal, you work with Abdul Fattah,
Yeah.
who was supposed to come on the show. This is why we have these sports questions too, because
Yeah.
we were supposed to have another AD on the show, but it's okay. But what I wanted to say is, let's say you seen a girl in the gym class, like just look like she's a baller,
Yeah, right.
and then you go up to her and be like, hey, why don't you play sports? She's like, I would love to, but I don't think I can do it. Like right now, if you had to talk to her parents, how would you do it? How would you handle that situation?
Oh, that's a toughie.
I know.
That's a really hard one, honestly.
Just so people can understand, first of all, what we have to go through as the leaders
Right.
of a building,
Yeah.
just to get a student
Yeah.
to play a sport, a Yemeni girl or a Muslim girl to play a
Right.
sport, and then also just kind of want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Can I make a comment while
Absolutely.
she's trying to pull her
Yep.
Yeah.
thoughts together?
Yeah.
Just remember that Allah is your God for eternity, and your parents are your parents for the duration of this world,
Right.
and they come first as far as human beings, and your teacher is only there for the duration of that school year. So don't let them try to wreck anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's I want to hear from the teacher how she would approach this, because I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I more than likely, if I already know that their restrictions have been put in place for their child and they don't want them doing that, I really wouldn't want to rock that boat. I would respect I would respect and honor the parents' wishes. So if I see a baller, there are other avenues, right? So there are all-girl leagues, right? Start your own league. Empower them to start their own league, if you will, right? And then have a conversation with the parents on, that part of it, right? Because if we already know that they have the restrictions on their daughters and they don't want them to do that, like I personally don't want somebody to, if I already have my mindset on something, and again with them, it's the restrictions are there all the time. I would have a conversation respectfully just to kind of get what their opinion is on that. And if they don't support it, then I would honor whatever the parents say. And then encourage the children also, again, to honor what their parents say. But give them other options, right? Hey, so you can't do it on our school basketball team, but who's to say you can't join an all-women's league? Because now we have these Muslim all-women's leagues, right?
Yeah.
Where they get together and they put it out there and they play volleyball together and they play basketball together, and that's great. And it's a women's only event,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then you can succeed in that way. So, when you're under, the commands of your parents, right? You have to follow them.
For sure.
So, yeah,
For sure.
I like it.
There
Best
you
of
go.
both worlds.
yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Great way of approaching that one right there. Appreciate it. So moving on from that to more so of like women in leadership roles. 'Cause
Yeah.
This is another one of those cultural norms
Yep.
issues that we kind of run into.
Yep.
For some reason, again, I guess we kind of already know the reason. Again, it's about people talking about you, I guess.
Right.
People talking about you. But even in situations of leadership roles, of doing something that's actually not haram, that is building the community, whatever it may be. It's kind of like one of those, you kind of probably, and then you being an assistant principal, I know you probably kind of feel some type of way sometimes, maybe, I don't know. Let's talk about that. Like, why should people support it, and what can we do about that little cultural norm that we kind of are still running into a problem with, especially when it comes down to like Yemeni women.
Yep.
And I kind of feel like it kind of shies them away from doing that, even if they want to do it.
Right.
Because there's a lot of Yemeni women out there that would be great leaders, but they probably step away from that position because of the public
Right.
viewpoint and public eye that they may be getting. So I guess like how would you, or what would you say to maybe help that situation out?
So I personally empower girls to understand that, you could do things that are in non-traditional female roles, right? Within our culture, non-traditional female roles, because, in America, I have a cousin who's a mechanical engineer, right? And she does a phenomenal job at it. And she moved so high up the ladder, and became a supervisor, right? As a mechanical engineer. I think that when you have really good examples like that, and the community is able to see that, whether it's a physician's assistant, we have attorneys now, you have people who are in positions of political power, right? If you have the ability to continue to carry yourself in a respectable manner, and earn the respect of people, right, in the community, to me, it's almost like having to prove, look, this is who I am, right? I didn't lose who I am as a Muslim, but I have the capability of working alongside men in a respectable manner, right? Something that always bothers me is like, what about the men? The men are going to be there, right? The entire universe, right? We're not just going to talk about America, but is comprised of
Men and women.
52% of men. I'm not hiding from 52% of the human population, if that makes sense, right?
100%.
If you have the ability to carry yourself, in a way that's respectable, then there should be no restrictions about having a woman in a position of power.
And one of the main things that is talked about, or is why we're restricted from all this stuff, is because of the mixing.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because if there was not mixing or whatever it may be, that's what they're afraid of.
Right.
And that's the whole reason why I feel like women are, they back down in these situations.
Yeah.
No, if I'm gonna be real, I love putting my brothers on the spot because I wasn't allowed to talk to boys. Whether if it was,
Well, none of us were.
Yeah.
no, the thing
I
is,
wasn't
like,
even allowed to have
didn't know.
friends,
Yeah.
girls or boys.
I mean, I had friends, but I hardly would go over their house because whatever. But I wasn't allowed to ask them for a pencil. I wasn't allowed to look at them. I wasn't allowed to nothing. So it kind of to the point where it's awkward for me to talk to men till this day sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like it's the eye. I can't even keep eye contact. Like, whatever. It is what it is. But I feel like if we put it in a way of like, what's right and wrong. I believe in you. I trust you.
Right.
Tell me everything. Build that trust with your daughter and your son. Like once you get to the level where you are in a leadership role, you can lead even in a better way.
Yeah.
Without having that fear or having that awkwardness or having that, like, it wasn't until I became a teacher where I had to actually talk to parents,
Right.
where I was like able to like, talk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where before, actually working at a doctor's office was the worst. That was where it started. Other than that, like, yeah, definitely, I feel like we can do it. I've always wanted to be a principal, so inshallah. In the future. But it definitely is scary because at the same time you have some men that look at you like, oh, who does this girl think she is? Or like how you said, it was said that you had to
100%.
prove yourself.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that they believed in you. You
Right.
had to prove yourself. And
Yeah.
I hate that part.
Well, I just want to say you called us out twice, and I looked at my phone. I'm gonna make sure I tell this to Mama, and I send her that clip.
They're watching for sure.
A couple things. So we had Caltrate shoot best show on Tuesday afternoon. Appreciate it. And my wife also said, going back to the teachers part. Parents respect teachers a lot. When Bridge went to Cedar Point a few years ago, my dad only allowed me to go when Miss Fadak called and let my parents know she'll be with us and we will be safe. I mean, I think. I mentioned, I put you on the spot, but I knew that you were entrenched in the community.
No,
People
and
respect you.
Right.
That's why I asked you that question. You definitely need to have that respect to go even have that conversation with the parents. But go
No,
ahead.
and that's why it's important for the parents and the teachers to build bonds. So,
Yeah.
Opportunities are opened.
It takes a village to raise a child. That's why they say that.
Yep.
Let me tell you guys a funny story.
Go ahead.
Speaking of that. So Hanley does these DC trips, okay? And a couple years back, I think it was 2016?
Well, I don't know where you're going with this.
Remember the twins? There's two Yemeni girls. They're twins. They were very smart, and the principal wanted them to go. They're like, these girls deserve it. They are, And the mom was against it. The dad was against it. And then she was like, if a Arabic teacher came, would that be okay? And all this good stuff. And they said okay. And I was like, I still have to ask my dad because I don't even know if he's gonna let me go. Well, and I, obviously I asked, and he said okay. But yeah, so definitely it's a thing.
Yeah.
That she respected the fact that I was going. That, so.
The question is, what can we do to support more Yemeni women to become in leadership roles? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it starts with language, right? Because and to go back to that whole dialogue thing, a lot of times we already have Muslim women in leadership roles: doctors, nurses, right, managers, principals, CEOs, all of that. We already have that. It's the problem comes where the misunderstanding comes is like if it's something like that we're not used to, and it comes down to language and to making our parents, I guess not making them, but talk to them, get them to understand that it's no different than this field, right? If we're talking in a political sense, I could see why parents are like, because politicians, they're known as liars, whatever. They're politicians. That's why when you're like,
Excuse me.
you're not a politician.
I'm not, but
you just
you know,
support a lot of
I
politicians.
run local campaigns, and so yeah.
Yeah, but it's with language. They play with words, right? So I can see why, like, people are like, maybe you shouldn't get into that, because we know that the more truthful you are, the less likely you're gonna be elected, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to get into politics. But I think it goes back to language and helping our parents understand, especially if they're kind of just stuck in their ways, is getting them to understand there's no different than if I was a doctor and I was the head of this department, So we already have Muslim women in leadership roles. We just have to learn how to kind of,
Protect and support them.
yes.
And the crazy thing is behind like all these strong men that are in leadership roles, they go to their wives or their sisters or their aunts or grandmother for advice.
Hey, can
Right.
you do
So-
this?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, for sure. I agree. No, you already know how I feel about women in leadership role. I personally said that if I ever like ran a school, I would definitely have like a woman as a principal. Me personally,
Right.
just because of everything that they can bring to the table. But I guess moving on from that is, I think we're doing a better job with becoming more adapting to cultural norms. When I say we, I mean like the more of the Yemeni Arabic, culture with the American cultural norms and stuff like that. So, but what can we do to get better? What do you think we can do as a community to get better? And Saad, I'm gonna start off with you. I don't think I've started off with you on this one. On any questions? Yeah, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. What can we do to make it better? Well, as I was saying, support. Number one thing would be supporting it. Not stop judging. What's the point of judging? Like, and judging has no culture, no language. Everyone judges. But I think, like I've said this in a couple episodes back, especially with the Yemeni community or even the Arab community, they want to see like similar faces or people that look like them in these roles.
Right.
But it's hard for them to have their own daughters or their own wives or their own girls in their family to be in these roles because they just want to hide them and protect them and what are people going to say. So I think it's important for girls in every culture, from everywhere to be able to express themselves and do what they want and to have the support from their loved ones.
I bet. What are your thoughts?
I think it comes down to the family. If they believe in their sister, they should push her to achieve her highest potential.
Yep.
I think as a community, we need to work collectively for a betterment of our future. Support if you see another female Yemeni trying to get a position or get a job, support her. It starts our new generation. We need to teach our kids how to respect, women and vice versa. At the end of the day, we're only hindering ourselves or only holding back our community when we think of, oh, he said, she said, all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Avoid aib and learn our religion.
Yep.
Learn our religion to the point where we can use it.
To benefit us.
Yeah.
And to navigate
Yeah.
through every circumstance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
What
at
are
the
your
end of the day, we are a guest. I love that you said that.
Yeah, you're such a critical thinker.
Yes, he is.
I honestly,
Appreciate it.
We got that within 1 hour. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And
No,
by the-
because every time you gave an answer, mind blown. Like you complete. I would not even, I wouldn't even think those would come out.
I tell you, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Moti texted me and he says Debo's cousin, man. Tell me before I let you know. But go ahead.
I think, help them navigate where they want to be, empower them to get there, and set that standard for them really, really high. And I think that when you do that, it motivates them to want to do good and do more.
Nice. I like that.
As far as repeat the question again.
Yeah, the question basically was, I gotta make sure. I almost forgot about the question too. Is can you see how can our community, can kind of get better at adapting to things that is not even haram, just more so just,
Hive in their eyes.
Yeah.
really.
Well, I keep going back to Islam because I feel like it's really important. I'm gonna just base it off of me because and off of my experience. Like I said, I was born, with from a Christian mother and a Muslim father. Right, they were separated when I was 3 years old. But I went to Yemen. I lived there for 7 years, and it's really important that we make a strong foundation with our children, the Islamic foundation, because after I grew up and everything and went to high school, you go left, you go right, and you go off the path. But as long as you have that strong foundation, you're never going to be lost. Eventually, you're going to come back because the foundation was strong, and we have to teach them that very strong foundation, right? And implement that. And I feel like if everybody was to do that and to actually follow the teachings of the Prophet, where we teach them at the age of 7, right? And we stand firm with them at the age of 10 and sahibhum when they're at the age of puberty. And he gave us the blueprint, right? So if we follow that blueprint and we have a strong foundation, I feel like society would be better as a whole. Even if you were to go astray for a little while or whatever, that strong foundation, it's not going to make the building fall.
Yeah.
It's eventually, even though it shakes, is gonna stand firm at some point. So, yeah, I feel like it starts off with the strong Islamic foundation, and the filtering system. Islam is a filtering system for every new thing, every invention that we come through. We put it through the Islamic filtering system. Anything that's in conflict with Islam, you throw it away. It doesn't matter what Joe Schmo said. You throw it away if it's in conflict with Islam, especially if it's clear, if it's in clear conflict. See, we know that khamr, right? That's clear. We have in the Quran ayat mutashabihat and ayat muhkamat, right? We know what the hukm is. And mutashabih, you go to your sheikh and you do your research for things that need to be interpreted. But for the most part, there's no. Generally speaking, Muslims know what's right and wrong, and the more we try to, play with words, you're really just fooling yourself. So my answer is strong foundation. Islam, a strong Islamic foundation.
Another great answer. I just want people to know that, we got him last minute. Najwa got, she was like, let's get Nasser on the show. This was yesterday. So for somebody to just.
Great conversation.
Yeah, great answers too. Right on point. All right, right on point. And so
it was really this. She said they're going to be talking about sports. I was like, all right, I'm in. I didn't know we were going to be talking.
I
about
forgot to tell you the rest.
Try to get you in, and then by the way, this is the other topic.
This is what it is.
Yeah. So it's advice time. All right, and I know this kind of mentions sports, the question, but we're not going to just focus on sports. Just in general, it could be a leadership role, it could be a position at a job, where CEO, whatever it may be. If someone came up to you for advice, a woman did, she came up to you and said, hey, I really want this, what should I do? Or I want to pursue this. Maybe they don't got it yet, but they want to pursue it. What advice would you give? I don't think I've started on you yet, Nasser, so I'm going to start off with you. If your daughter eventually comes up to you and says she wants to take this role, and it's not haram, and she wants to take the necessary steps to, get into that role, I guess what advice would you give her?
That's pretty easy for me. To me, if Allah says it's okay, it's okay. Right? If Islam permits it, I don't care. That's just me personally, right? And I would deal if there's rumors, I would deal with the rumors. That's how I approach things. As long as Islam approves of it. And if anybody want to debate that with me, we could go at it. If you want to fight me for it, then we'll fight about it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. My answer is always going to be if Islam approves of it, then I'm okay with it. And if it's Islam aside, I hate to even say that. That sounds kind of weird. Islam aside, right? If Islam, I can't really go anywhere around that. Like, yeah, it's Islam first.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Najwa? I got comments, by the way, too. I'm going to read them off later. I didn't even know I had these comments, but go ahead.
Okay, so I thought about this last night.
Yeah.
And I was like, mine's going to be a little bit longer than that, okay? So first and foremost, whatever it is that you're seeking is out there seeking you, right? confirm what your purpose is, right? And then these are just the beliefs that I live by, right? So the manifestation of excellence into existence is through the spoken word, right? Thoughts become things. So if you're consistently thinking about great things and positive things and you're impeccable with your word, then you will bring these things into existence, right? Of course, with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Beautiful.
Okay? So that's, I think, the number one thing that guides me, right? I wrote them all down. Believing in the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And understanding that what is meant for you will be for you, no matter what it is. It will never pass you. And just believe that if it isn't for you, it isn't for you. So I ask not only for myself, but for everybody here present, that whatever is not for you, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will seal your heart from that which is not for you. Okay? And so it's pure intentions, right? Pure, and that's number 3. Pure intentions, I think, is what guides us in this life, right? If you maintain pure in your intentions and why we do the things we do, and what for others, what we want for ourselves, then subhanallah, I feel like you really, you really just, you can't go wrong. And, and then from there, you just kind of like take it one day at a time.
Can we get some claps?
No, yeah, Zach ain't ready. Zach ain't ready for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll do it.
Our producer is a new guy. We got Zach, my brother, in the back, by the way. Shout out to Zach. Yusuf is out there being the AD for today, so Zach is not ready to do the claps. I didn't want to complicate things for him as long as
He fell asleep a
No,
couple
but
times.
Yeah.
she deserves it.
yeah, he's over there chilling probably
general?
on Instagram or something. But Abir,
What do I have to do after her?
Can I? I'll go. I'll go. 'Cause I'm gonna get like stomped by both you guys. No, but I think is having an open conversation with the people that you need to have a conversation with. Honestly, 12, 13 years ago, I would have never believed I would live the life that I'm living right now. The 18-year-old Sara didn't even care about college, did not want to go to college, took a year like out of high school, had the intention to not go to college, had a year off until I had my whole entire family legit begging me to, find what I want to do and find what I, want to be. And I'm so thankful for that. And then going back a couple years before, it was a struggle for her to even want to go to college. You know what I'm saying? And she had the full intention to go on a full ride. So, like, piggybacking of what Najwa said.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Your time will be your time, and you can't be mad if you want something right now and it doesn't work out. There's a reason, and if it's what's yours will not pass you. Yeah. So just work hard. Have the intention, make the dua. God does not forget about anyone, and you'll get you'll get what's best for you, and you'll be more than content with that.
So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I want to start off by saying that I wish I had someone like you tell me that when I was in high school. Because when I was in high school, my senior quote was, "Whatever you want or don't want has little to do with what will happen." Because I really thought. So I'm laughing now because I lived through it and alhamdulillah things worked out. But I had the mentality of I was a yes mama, yes baba, type of girl, and yes brothers. But we plan, but Allah's the best planner. Absolutely. And everything happens for a reason. And like you said, I wish I had a better mindset where I put that into existence and I had the manifestation and I had, I stood firm in what I wanted, But at the same time, things happen for a reason. I have my son, alhamdulillah, he's my best friend. And I was able to still go to school and, I'm way further in life than I ever thought I would be. So if I believe that, listen to your parents, number one, but also don't be afraid to talk to your parents. I feel like I was so afraid of hearing no that I never wanted to kind of express my feelings. It was like, it's whatever they wanted, and then we'll see. You know what I'm saying? So,
going up.
Sorry, that's me. That's me.
Anyways, so basically, believe in yourself, hold firm in what you want. I feel like if I would have showed my parents like my dedication and really, really pushed it, I could have changed their mind. But at the end of the day, if you have parents that don't agree on what you want, talk to them, show them that you're serious, show them your grades, like really, take them with you to college, talk to them more about it, help them understand, and inshallah you'll be able to do whatever you want to do. So.
Thank you for that. And I'm sorry I had to go on YouTube because this thing died. And I wanted to read off some of the comments. So, Moti wanted to make sure he put it out there. He said, "Tell them when I pulled up to the school because I heard somebody call you out your name." I mean, Moti wanted to just throw that out there. she was mentioning about
I was the type of girl that would tell my brothers everything, like the littlest thing. He said that, and then it would cause some drama. But that was middle school.
Sounds like Moti.
Yeah, sure. And then Let Us Change It said, "Islam promotes good health and fitness and encourages both men and women to engage in physical activity to maintain a healthy lifestyle." Shout out to Miss Ali and Nasser. This is from Ayad. All right.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So Ayad wanted to make sure he said that as well.
Ayad,
Yeah.
oh, what's up, Ayad?
Yeah. Shout out to Ayad. Thank you for chiming in. And first of all, thank you to both of you. This was an amazing conversation. I hope people that are at home that are going to watch this eventually or we're watching this enjoyed the talk. Nasser and Najwa, we really do appreciate it. Before we give our final words, I do want to say, first of all, if you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that like button, hit the bell for future notifications. Oz Media is the YouTube channel. Instagram and Facebook is under Motivate Me 313. You can subscribe or follow us there. And Apple and Spotify podcasts, if you want to listen to the show later, it's under Oz Media. And again, for future reference, it's, if you want to call in, the number is 313-306-1750. Again, thank you to Najwa and Nasser for coming on the show. They did an amazing job. I'm sure everybody would agree with that. If Zach was up on the claps, we'd definitely give y'all a round of applause. Yeah, we'd give him a round of applause. Great
Thank
job.
you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you,
for sure.
everyone.
Shout out to the sponsors again, BC Adhesives, Balkan House, Qahwa House, and Hanley International Academy. Really appreciate them as well.
Thank you for bringing him short notice.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
It was really nice.
He's a
For
great
sure.
addition, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yep. So any final comments you want to say, Najwa? Any final words? Anything like that? Shout outs?
Shout out. Ooh, somebody did tell me to give him a shout out. My Aya for being here. Thank you, Aya, for coming and supporting me.
Okay.
And thank you to you guys. It was an honor to be on your show.
Yep, for sure.
Great having you guys.
Yeah,
Nasser,
it was awesome.
any final words?
Yes, shout outs. Shout out to my son Jibril and my daughter Isabella.
I was going to say to Malik, too.
Shout out Malik too.
Thanks.
That's pretty much it. And my wife, she's probably watching this. And when you guys were complimenting me, she usually humbles me real quick.
Yeah.
The last time somebody said, "You're a jack of all trades," and she goes, "Yeah, jack of all trade, a master of none." So
I was actually going to tell Sarah, stop with the, please. Thank you. Because
it doesn't get to my
his head's not going to fit through the door when we leave out of here.
Do,
So
I always wished I went into psychology. I did sociology, but I did a minor in psychology, and I just love critical thinking.
Yeah.
That's my forte.
could I say shout out to my parents because they always support me with whatever I do. And even if they're mad at me about something I do, they get over it really quickly. So I love my parents and I appreciate them and all their support.
For sure. And it probably shaped you into the person that you are today because of that,
All right.
Any final words?
We got to shout out Mama, too.
Yeah, shout out to Mama. Shout out to
Love you,
Mama.
Mama.
I feel bad. I feel like I talked down upon my brothers or blamed them for years, but I appreciate them more than anything. Honestly, they have been my rock and backbone, and I appreciate all of the protection that you guys gave me, and my uncles too. Shout out to Uncle Eddie Nash.
And they were just a part of the culture norms of that time.
Yeah, we've come a long way.
Full circle.
Yeah, for sure.
I have an Uncle Nash too. So
And Uncle Adnan, right?
yeah, I do. Yeah.
We have
Yep,
Adnan.
yep.
So.
Well,
So funny.
I hope you guys appreciate it.
Shout out to Ramsey. Sorry, I had to.
Yeah.
And Emil Asri.
Hanley
The whole
soccer team
family.
got the W today. But again, I hope you all enjoyed it. Share it. If you guys think this is a conversation that is worth sharing with your parents, family members, friends. And again, I hope you enjoy it. And we'll be back again next week, Tuesday at 6 o'clock. We are looking forward to that conversation. And have a great rest of your nights. Be safe.